Let's do this question. This question was asked in grade 2020, grade 2011, and this is a linked question, which means this description is given, and there are two questions associated with this description. Now let me first read the description, and I have actually pasted this description in the next page so that I can read it clearly. So consider a network with 5 nodes n1 to n5. So these are the 5 nodes that are given n1 to n5, and this is the network that is given. Now they are saying the network uses a distance vector routing protocol. So DVR is being used. Once the routes has been stabilized, the distance vector at the different nodes are edge for edge. So these are the distance vectors for every node once the route is finalized. Okay. So when the route is stabilized, these are the distance vectors. Now what they are saying that each distance vector is distance of the best known path at that instance to the node. So I mean this distance vector is basically telling us that what is the distance from n1 to n1, which is 0, what is the distance from n1 to n2, which is 1, like that. Okay. So where the distance to itself is 0, also all links are symmetric and cost is identical in both the directions. In each round, all nodes exchange their distance vector with their respective neighbors. So read it carefully. So they have defined something called as round. In each round, so they have defined it, right? So in each round, all nodes exchange their distance vector with their respective neighbors. So this is what a round is. So in each round, what is happening? They are exchanging their distance vectors. So if I say one round, then n1 will exchange its distance vector to n2, n2 will exchange its distance vector with n5, n3, and n1, like that, right? Then all the nodes update their distance vectors. So this is what they have. This is how they have defined a round. So this is one round, and in between two rounds, any change in the cost of a link will cause the two incident nodes to change only that entry in their distance vectors. So if there is some change, let's suppose this one has got increased to 2, or there is some change, then they are not calling it as a round. So they are saying that in between two rounds, if any change in the cost of link, so suppose that this one has got to 2, then they are saying that n2 vector will immediately update from 1 to 2. This is the n2 vector, right? So this is not a round. So they are not calling it as a round. So they are saying in between two rounds, any change in the cost of link will cause two incident nodes to change only that entry in their distance vectors. So which means this one will go to 2, and then this one will also get to 2, and this is not a round, which means if you are updating this 1 to 2, then this will happen immediately in between two rounds. So any change of the cost will cause two incident nodes to change only that entry. So like this is what happening if there is any change in cost of link. So this is the description of the algorithm. I hope you got it, right? So one round is defined like an exchange, and if there is a change in any link, then you need to immediately update it, which means like you will not wait for a round. So you will not wait for another round to update it. You will immediately update the links to the you will immediately update the values, and these values will only be updated on the corresponding entries, which means like only this n2 to n1 will get 2, like which means like n3 will n3 n4 n5, these nodes will not get to know if this one has been got to 2 or not. These nodes will get to know only after exchange, and this is not an exchange, right? This is not they have defined as round. So a round is something where we are exchanging the information, and if there is a change in cost, then this is not a round, which means they will immediately update the value, and this is not the round. Now let's solve this question. The cost of link n2 to n3 reduces to 2 in both the directions. So this is our network, and the cost of link n2 to n3, this n2 to n3 has been got to 2, right? After the next round of updates, and after that there will be a next round of updates, right? So once you update this to 2, then there will be next round of updates. Then what will be the new distance vectors at node n3? So once you update this to 2, so let me write it. Once you update this to 2, then what will be the new distance vector entries for n3 in the next round, right? In the next round. So once you update this to 2, what will happen? Let me just write it here. Immediately n3 distance vector will get changed and n2 distance vector will get changed. So n2 distance vector will be saying that instead of this 6 it is 2, and instead of n3 distance vector will say that instead of this 6 it will be 2, right? Now there will be one exchange of rounds. So n3 will be getting distance vectors from n2 and n4. N2 distance vector is this. So let me write it here: 1, 0, 2, 7, 3, and n3 sorry, n4 distance vector is this, which means 8, 7, 2, 0, 4. 8, 7, 2, 0, 4. Now these distance vectors, like n3 will getting these distance vectors from n2 and n4, and n3 to n2, n3 to n4 is 2, and n3 to n2 is 2, right? So this is the vector we are getting from n2: 1, 0, 2, 7, 3, and 8, 7, 2, 0, 4. This is the vector we are getting from n4. Now n3 will update its entry based on the minimum. So just take the minimum, like this is 3 and 10, 3 is minimum, and n2 to n2 is itself, sorry, this is n3, so n3 to n3 is itself 0, and yeah, so this entry will be a minimum of 2 and 9, which is 2, and then this is 0, this 8 and 8 and 2, which is 2, and then 5 and 6, so 5. So 32025 should be the answer. 32025 should be the answer, which means A is the answer. Right? I hope you got it. It is a very easy question. You just need to read the descriptions carefully. So after one round of update, this will be the case, right? So let's solve the next question. In the next question, they are saying that after the update in previous question, so after the update in the previous question, which means everything, like not just n3, like everything will get updated. So this is the final vector for n3, and similarly n4 will get updated, n2 will get updated, like every vector will get updated. And after this round, the link n1 to n2 goes down. So once every new, like once I have every new vector everywhere, right? So I will be having new vector everywhere like this, and n3 vector we have just calculated. Similarly, I need to calculate all the vectors, and once we calculate all the vectors, then this round of update is completed, right? So after the update, which means once we calculate all the vectors in the previous question, the link n1 to n2 goes down. So which means this cost has been increased to infinity. So immediately n2 will change infinity in its new vector, and n1 will also change to infinity in this new vector, right? And this is not not a round that they have defined. So this is just the immediate cause that is happening. Now the round will begin. Now n2 will reflect this change immediately in this vector as cost infinity, and after the next round of update, what will be the cost to n1 in the distance vector of n3? So they are saying in the distance vector of n3, what should be this entry, the cost to n1. I hope question is clear, right? So once you calculate all the vectors, you need to update these values, and then they are saying that this will be n2 to n2 0. Now they are saying that after this there will be a next round of update, and then what will the distance to distance from n3 to n1 according to n3 basically. So what will the distance or cost to n1 according to n3 in the distance vector of n3. So they are asking about this entry. Now let me do what? So n3 will be getting the entries from n2 and n4. So what do you think, what will be here in the n4? So n4 initially is having 8, 7, 2, 0, 4, right? So n4 initially is having this, but now I need to first calculate based on the previous question. I need to first calculate this vector, and then n3 will be getting entries like infinity and some this entry, right? So let me first calculate this entry. You're getting my point, right? See, n4, see, instead of calculating all the vectors, I'm only focusing on the vector that n3 will be getting. N3 will be getting vector from n4 and n2. Now from n2, n3 will be getting infinity, that is okay. So basically, like whatever is this entry will basically get copied to n3, because anything is less than infinity, right? So based on this entry, I will be calculating this entry, right? Now this entry is just entry after the update in the previous question, which means I have this as an in to start with, and now I need to update based on the previous question. So previous question said like this will change to 2. Now in according to the previous question, I will be getting entries from n5 and n3. So from n3 I will be getting, so in the previous question this link got changed to 2. So from n3 I will be getting entries like this: 72026, right? So if I talk about only n1, then from n3 I will be getting 7. From n3, this is at n4, right? At n4 in the previous question itself. So I'm just calculating about the previous question. From n3 I will be getting the 7, because n3 is 7, and from n5 I will be getting 4. So from n5 I will be getting 4. This is what I will be getting in the previous question itself, right? Now don't worry about this link got down, because let me first calculate this entry, okay, which is in the previous question. So from n3 to n4 it is 2, so which means this will be 9, and then from n4 to n5 this is 4, which means this will be 8. So now n4 will be keeping it as 8 only, right, from the previous question. Now let this link be down. If this link got down, then in the next round of update, then what will happen? This n4 will be conveying this 8 to n3, and n2 will be conveying infinity to n3, which means between 10, because 8 plus 2 is 10, and infinity, obviously 10 is minimum, so it will take 10 as answer. So C should be the answer here, right? I hope you got it. See, first you need to calculate this n4, like basically first you need to calculate all the vectors based on the previous question. That is the first thing. So based on this question, I have only calculated vector for n3, but you need to calculate all the vectors. But here I am just refraining myself from calculating all the vectors. I am only calculating vector for n4, because what is being asked in the next question is about n3. So n3 will be getting vectors from n2 and n4. So I should be calculating the vectors for n2 and n4 only. But I'm only interested in this entry, first entry, right? So I know the first entry is infinity anyway. That is why n2 will be communicating infinity. And let me just calculate this entry from the previous question. So instead of calculating all the vectors, I was just calculating one vector, and then instead of calculating this one vector, I am just calculating one entry. So if I calculate this one entry, then this is 8, that will be communicated to n3, and this is infinity, which will be communicated to n3. Now n3 will be getting 2 entries. At n3 I will be getting 2 entries, which is 8 and infinity. So that's the final answer, which means 10 is the final answer. So 10 should be the answer, right?